Hi everybody, it's Dr. Sherry Caplan here at VitalityMD doing another segment on Ask the Doctor. So I just wanted to say Happy New Year to everybody. I hope that 2018 is a much better year than 2017, that we've learnt things in 2017 that we can apply to 2018, and looking for more light, love, and joy and connectivity in this year. I just wanted to, instead of do a question this week, I just actually want to talk about something that's very, I think, important, that I think we need to sort of spread the word. So I was just away on vacation and much needed break, but actually while I was there, something happened that was very scary. Many of you might know that I'm anaphylactic to peanuts, and I'm actually very careful, to ask about foods, and I carry an EpiPen with me. But while on vacation, I got this beautiful tray of chocolates coming to my door and at the room at the hotel, and I very specifically asked, does anything here have nuts? And they sort of pointed out what was on the tray, and that one of the items actually had coconut in it, but when I asked specifically about peanut, they said no. I sort of was like, do I, don't I? And basically very cautiously, I took a little tiny bite of one of these pieces of chocolate because it looked amazing, and I'll show you a picture shortly. But essentially, it did, in fact, had peanuts. And the minute, like anything that has peanuts in it touches my tongue, it causes this like chemical reaction, and I know that I'm in trouble. And thank God, I have my EpiPen with me, and I have antihistamine, and took antihistamine. And this actually happened on my first night of being away. And I'm kind of trying to decide whether I need to use my EpiPen or not. And actually, that's not something you should do. Like if you have a bad reaction to peanuts, you should actually administer the EpiPen right away. But the thought going through my head was, oh my God, it's my first night of vacation. If I use my EpiPen, I don't have another way to get another one. Anyways, the long and the short is my throat started swelling, and I was like, I'm not putting my, I'm not wanting to have to go to the hospital, and I don't want to die for sure tonight. So I actually administered my EpiPen. My husband called, for assistance, and it was amazing actually what had happened. So, on one hand, here I am like, giving myself an EpiPen. I'm at a hotel. It was in Jamaica, and the response time from the hotel was, they didn't call 911. They sent nurse. The nurse comes and doesn't actually have anything in her toolbox in terms of having adrenaline or anything else to do with an emergent anaphylactic reaction. We asked, like, do you have anything in case I need that second dose of epinephrine? They said, oh, we can call the doctor, but we don't even think the doctor has epinephrine on board. And in fact, in Jamaica, we often don't have EpiPens, and it's not a usual reaction that Jamaican people have, and therefore there's not a lot of it available. And then, obviously, right at the moment, we were more concerned about how I was doing and what we needed to do, and thank God my reaction started to subside, and I felt my, the reaction reversing kind of thing. But then my concern was, I can have a second wave. How do I get myself an EpiPen? And that became a whole other fiasco in trying to acquire an EpiPen while I was abroad for the next, 12 days. Plus, it was like Sunday night. It was like 9 o'clock at night, and so even pharmacies are closed or whatnot. But the reason I'm bringing all this up was, what we found out was the policy in place, or what was the procedures at the hotel, and basically they had none. Yes, I'm a known peanut allergic person, and I have my own EpiPen, but again, a kid can have their first reaction, or anybody can have their first reaction and they had no ability to deal with an anaphylactic reaction. So most hotels or camps, or even think about schools, that everybody should have the availability of an EpiPen available, that they shouldn't be worried about administering it in an anaphylactic situation, that I think somebody would more likely fault them for not having the EpiPen available and and administering it than someone dying. I mean, the response time between the nurse coming and whether or not the doctor needed to come, I mean, a kid could have died in that time. So I think it's up to us and sort of spreading the word and talking to the hotel industry, resorts, camps, schools, sort of saying, like, do you actually have a policy in place? Number one, if you're serving highly allergenic foods, so whether that's shrimp or nuts or peanuts, or even like, basically, if someone's allergic to bees is another time, is that, do you have policies in place? Do you have an EpiPen? If you are serving these highly allergic foods, that whoever's serving them knows that they contain either a peanut, nut, or a shellfish, so that accidental exposure doesn't happen, and that if someone gets stung by a bee at a resort or has an exposure, that resort has policy and things in place to save a person's lives. Because when we asked, so no place on the resort at all had an EpiPen, so if somebody was by the beach and got stung by a bee, and how when they're serving alcoholic beverages or food, there's bees flying all around, so having things prepared and having a procedure and a policy that, then at least if everybody sort of does their job, then we can save a life. So I'm sorry to berate the issue, but I think it was like a very scary thing that happened. It's not the first time, unfortunately, that that's happened. But I think kind of, having policies and procedures in place to sort of deal with that, I think everybody can sort of have a better vacation, and knowing that they, in a risky situation, that there's someone to take care of them. Anyways, I think this is something that's really important to share. So if you feel that this speaks to you, or somebody who has anaphylaxis to peanuts, nuts, or shellfish, or bees, but essentially also someone can actually have their first anaphylactic reaction out of nowhere, and it doesn't have to be those three highly allergenic foods. It can be almost to anything. A friend of mine's allergic to mango. So I think just kind of having procedures in place that, God forbid, anaphylaxis happens, that the hotel, resort, school, camp can deal with it. So please share it. Let's get the word out. Let's make resorts think twice about what they have in place to make sure that we're all safe. Anyways, I'm glad that I'm still here, and have a great week, and Happy New Year once again, and look forward to connecting with you next week.